The rise of AI with things like ChatGPT, in my view, are probably the best examples of the bargaining devil to humankind. And what I mean by that is, anything that we use that's artificial, you are compromising something within you. You're usually compromising your health, your ability, or your intelligence to do something, right? So if you go to a fast food chain and your diet is based off shitty food that isn't good for you, and you keep eating artificial crap, artificial food, fast food, all of this type of stuff, you are compromising your health. You're compromising your biological health, even, your mental health when it comes to things like this. So obviously there's going to be a compromise where people are going to constantly keep using artificial intelligence. You're going to compromise your own intelligence, your own ability to think for yourself, your own actual conception of reality, your sovereignty as a human being, okay? Because you're going to be compromising, in a sense, you're going to be selling your own intelligence to something that's going to be using your will, okay? You're going to be relying on something, let's say ChatGPT, to, I want a script written for me, I want to create a book, I want to figure out a new play that I want to create, but I want artificial intelligence to formulate the idea for me, or I want a new painting to be made so that I can maybe sell it or something. This is the biggest issue that's going to be coming about with artificial intelligence. Okay, is that you are compromising your will and your willpower, your own ability to suffer. Because through suffering, you actually create the thing that is beautiful itself. When was the last time you went to a art museum and you read about the big famous pieces of arts that were in that art museum? The chances of, all of those artists, Vincent van Gogh, for example, they all suffered to create something beautiful. You have to suffer to create something beautiful. All the architecture in the world, or if you look at Uzbekistan and you look at the amazing pieces of Oriental art that produces the architecture in these countries, suffering was needed to create something beautiful. And this is like a key principle within Nietzschean philosophy, for example. So AI is very much the thing that humans are going to use to compromise our own intelligence. And in that, you're going to get conformity, slavery, and obviously a lack of sovereign thought, or the lack of the ability to even think for yourself through this compromise. Just like someone going to a fast food chain compromising their health. Now, when it comes down to this, we need to think of the archetype of the struggling artist. A lot of people now, because we're in a recession and people want to make money and all this type of thing, they're compromising their passion for money. But the only thing that really makes a culture beautiful is the struggling artist. The struggling artist is a solution to culture. It is not an inherent problem that people need to fix. It is a solution. Okay, because once you have the struggling artist is the fuel to a burning culture which burns bright, and everyone loves to see the creations in which come from it. Okay, as soon as you get people who don't struggle but they're not artists or creatives, they don't really have a vision anymore to create anything. I mean, and this is probably the case with the past 100 years when you had like the Dada movement and you had kind of like Impressionism and kind of all of these different forms of these genres where the definition of the art exceeded the actual illustration of what it is itself. All of that probably just came from people that didn't really suffer, had really a vision, because they didn't really suffer that much. They didn't have a vision for themselves of what they wanted to create to begin with. So it was all very much stuff that was kind of a bit shit, to be honest. Like if you go and look at what was created from the Dada movement, for example, it's probably a bunch of people that are very spoiled, didn't really have a high or big vision of what to create through art or through the expression of anything. Even when you have, and this is in everything, poets, artists, painters, writers, everything. The struggling artist is not a bad thing, okay? And the temptation of wanting to make money as an artist is going to be very great with this AI tool, because you'll be like, well, I could, create these illustrations, I can get AI to make these illustrations and I could sell them on here and all of this, but it's all with the intention of making money. And someone who is a creative, or a creative who's watching this video, you are basically the fuel to the culture So if you sell yourself out for money, then nothing really beautiful will exist in culture. And we see this more and more anyway, because it's happening more and more. Not just because we're in a recession, but just because people want to lust over money and make as much money as possible. But the struggling artist is a key archetype that people need to think about here, because there's something within the struggle that brings about the beauty that can then be presented to the world through culture, and which gives inspiration. But if everyone does things for the intention of money, making money, then the highest value is money. And there's nothing beautiful about that. You can't represent money in a beautiful way. I mean, you can go to Dubai and you see the Burj Khalifa and it's like, oh, it's pristine, it's clean. But there's nothing really like imaginative and beautiful, really. Even though people keep going on like, oh, it's pristine, it's amazing. But there's nothing really culturally beautiful. It's not like if you went to Uzbekistan and you saw the cultural beauty of Uzbekistan with the oriental mosques and artistic inventions that came from somewhere like that on the Silk Road or something like this, or you go to Europe and you see all the creations there. That all came from suffering. Once you experience suffering, there is then a desire to create something beautiful that is the opposite of suffering itself, and that is where you get beauty. You need to experience the polarities of life. So AI, in this frame, is a very big problem. If you're someone who wants to make money, you should not be involved be a creative. You should instead be trying to develop something that facilitates, develop some sort of institutional corporation or something that facilitates the creative's work. Because the creative people will be very much tempted to use these tools, and you'll be compromising your own will as an individual to be using them. Because we're in a very difficult period of us as a culture always observing the past, the history of the world, but there's nothing really represents us in this time and space. There's nothing that really represents us. That's what I was mentioning at one point with aliens, is that we are kind of psychological aliens, in the sense that we observe everything in history, but there is not really anything we can observe in the space in which we hold now. It's very much liminal. We very much live in a liminal world. So, when it comes to AI, people need to very much, you can take anything from this video, people very much need to question their intentions of what they're doing. Are you doing it for your passion, or are you doing it for money? If you're doing it for a passion, then do not look at the suffering of the creative artist as a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. Yeah, there should be things in society that actually help artists. You know, maybe there should be things within, maybe government systems, but of course the government, there's the chances of, like, maybe something that's based in the council where there's like something that facilitates the creativity of artists or something. But, if you're creative, I would not advise getting involved in AI. AI should only really be used for people that are trying to facilitate and build systems that are not based around creativity. I think AI is not going to ultimately help the creative intentions of human beings, because you're selling out, you're selling yourself and compromising your own creativity to a machine which doesn't understand emotion. So that is my, if you're going to take anything away from this video, that is what you should take away. Question the intentions of what you're doing, and the bigger outcome of what those things are going to do, not only for yourself but for culture as well. Because if we base everything around making money and we allow everything like that, then we're going to live in a very boring, bleak world where there is not much cultural stimulation anywhere.